Hi, this is Emma from Centered Within, and I want to do something different because I'm nearly finished writing my book. So I wanted to read part of my book in this podcast. Now, I don't know if this is all going to work because this is a video, and the reason why it's video is I can share it across more platforms, but also I'm reading from my laptop as well. So let's see how this goes, or I might have to change it to audio. I'm not too sure. My book is called Phoenix. This book is about a period of my life where everything fell apart. Like everything fell apart in my life. And it's a story of getting through that without going into too much depth and detail, and how I became an intuitive healer and working as an intuitive healer and animal healer. So obviously it goes into a bit more depth than that, but I just thought I would read you a piece. Phoenix, a story of choosing to step out of the darkest depths of life and start all over again. I remember the path that led me here. I remember the pain and fear I carried for so many years. I remember the grief that nearly took me down and my heart that broke into a million pieces. I remember when the path was dark and cold, and I remember waiting until it happened again. I remember looking at my reflection and being confused at who looked back at me. I remember when I was too scared to feel and buried it all deep down inside of me. I remember that shirt on my back was all I had. I remember believing this was me and accepting this is all I could be. I remember when I wanted to make a change. I remember I wanted to heal. I remember I wanted to feel what happiness was. I remember I was willing to do the work. I remember I wanted to grow and expand. I remember. As I started to write this book, it became clear this was not just about me telling my story and showing you some of the tools I have used that supported me along the way. Is another element of healing that I was not expecting. As this book progresses, you'll see elements of clarity, acceptance, and at times many tears as the messages were dropping in for me. So welcome to my healing journey, past, present, and who knows what the future may hold. This is really true actually, because I will continue, but I just wanted to talk to this. I think I first started writing my book back in, I want to say May 2022, and I've nearly come to the end of it now. I've stopped and started along the way. There was huge period of time when I didn't write at all because I didn't recognise how much this would be another layer of healing, another level of healing, another level of learning, taking responsibility, accountability, and all the things as well. I didn't understand what it would do, and there was times where I stopped, and I think really I haven't understood until now why there were times I had to stop, because I had to really, I think, allow that level of healing to take place and integrate, so then I could go on to the next part of writing the book. And also some things came through that I'd hidden so deep down that I was just like, I didn't even know that was there. I thought I had dealt with that bit, and obviously I hadn't. So then I had to spend time going through that as well. So chapter 1, the dark night of the soul. So you think it's the end and there's no way out. At times there was only one way that would end the constant suffering, the heartache, the fear and the pain. It never seemed to end. The world and everyone in it was out to get me, and they succeeded. The world had sucked me up and spat me out. The shirt on my back was all I had left. There was a physical body, but it was just a shell that allowed me to breathe, eat and walk. Thinking was cloudy, mixed, upside down, and then I would have flashbacks, stabbing pain of fear. Even the vodka could no longer drown the throbbing fear coursing through my veins. My old friend was turning on me. We used to drink to be happy, and now the drink was adding a depth to my despair. The blackouts would whir around as a constant reminder that I was in the gutter, crawling along, barely surviving, barely breathing. My family scooped me up and took me in. Had somewhere to live, and they all loaned me clothes and put into action a plan to rescue the last material belongings I had left. Then another huge blow came. My sister called my old life coach, asking to book in an emergency session. I know I had to hold on to this lifeline because I didn't know what else I could do. And so my story begins. There is no need to delve into the depths of what happened. For those who lived it or are living it, you feel it. There are people who were a significant part of this journey who have now passed over, and no matter what they did, I respect their privacy and honour that they cannot defend their actions. Also, there are family members that have no idea of the true depths of what I went through, and with respect to them, I choose not to share. I decided that it provides no benefit to show and pick through the contents of the belly of the beast. I've spent time working through it and come to my peace with it, and for me, that is the most important thing. Of course, I can still feel elements of it, but I understand and acknowledge it, allowing myself to feel it. I want to show you what happened after, how I pieced my life together, piece by piece. At the time of starting to draft this book, February 2022, a fully qualified intuitive healer running my business centred within. I start to peel away the dark coat I've been wearing for so long. An analogy I've been using for some time, we become lost in who we are and what we want to do. There are times in our lives when we take something on that is not us, or we do something we do not want to do. This is like wearing a coat that does not belong to us. We have this coat that's been lying around. We need to be dry and warm. We put it on. It doesn't fit. Do not like the colour, the style, but we need something from protection from the outside elements, so we put it on. We struggle because it's just not us at all, but we need something to hold on to. So we put it on repeatedly until it's our coat. It belongs to us. It is us. When we go through life, we put on coats. Depending on the path we have walked, depends on how many coats we have put on, to the point that we totally lose who we are. We walk the path with various layers of coats that influence our next step. I cannot tell you how many coats I was wearing. I did not know who I was. I knew my name, age, and gender, and that was about it. I was totally lost. All I knew was fear, pain, and worry. Trauma became a train that I hopped on and off from time to time. Everything was a blur. The one thing that I kept hearing from somewhere in my body was I could not keep going on like this. How do I get out of this? How do I move on? Can I move on? Do I want to move on? I remember lying in my bed listening to various people online who spoke about self-help. I would place my mobile phone close to my ear, close my eyes for a while and allow their words to take me. Sometimes I would listen on repeat. Sometimes I dropped off in some peaceful, restful sleep. I allowed their words to hold me for a while. Something will sink in. Something they will say will help me. I did not know if I could be helped. I was so low, so much had happened at the same time, my entire world had crumbled. The only thing standing was me, and I was not sure how long I would be standing. Is it humanely possible to come back from a place so dark and a repeat of traumatic life events? Does this train ever stop? I was stuck in trauma, could not see a way out. The walls were black and they were closing in on me. My drinking was an all-time high, but that feeling that alcohol once gave me did not exist. It was like drinking poison. My body ached. It was so heavy at times I would shuffle instead of making a step. I wore whatever clothes were available, and taking a shower was something I needed to prepare myself for because it was a mission. This was beyond depression. I was in the abyss. No way out. I was destined to be in this stank, dark, cold world, and of course I deserved it, because if it were not for me and my stupid choices, I would not even have been here. How I felt about my world was a direct reflection of how I thought and felt about myself. However, I kept listening to these various people on YouTube. Didn't always understand what they were saying, but there was something that kept me listening. My sister bought me a book by Gabrielle Bernstein, The Universe Has Your Back. I carried this book around with me like it was my safety blanket. At the same sort of time, the life coach I was seeing recommended I started journaling. She gave me various suggestions of what I could write and how I could write. I started off by writing a letter to the two people I loved more than anything and the two people who had betrayed me more than I could ever imagine. My worst enemy would have taken a less damaging approach. One of them had just passed away and the other had said sorry and run away, cutting all ties and communication with me. So I had no way of communicating with either of them, so I decided to write a letter about how I felt, what happened. Some days the words that came to mind were harsh and callous, but I wrote them down nonetheless. Others I was in floods of tears, asking why you wanted to do such a horrific thing to someone that you loved so much, that I thought you loved. This letter was my starting process of finding a way to grieve and to heal. Some days I wrote 10 sentences, others four sides of A4 front and back. It was advised that any real purge written work was written and then destroyed, allowing the energy to turn into dust. After destroying the paper I had poured vellum into, I went back to write in my journal what I was grateful for and what I'm learning about myself. When my body felt slow, dense and stuck, I would journal and purge, writing every thought that came into my head. Keep writing until there was nothing left. In that moment, I did feel a little lighter. I could think a little straighter. I remember my life coach asking me to write down a timeline of everything that had happened in the past 7 years. I nearly collapsed when I looked at it. My heart just broke even more. No one can recover from this. This is too much. Surely this had to happen, but it did. Surely this had not happened, but it did. But I was still alive, barely. But every morning I chose to wake up, breathe, eat, listen to YouTube, write in my journal. What I'd come to realise is that I had survived the trauma, but I felt like I was still in it. Well, I was still in it, but how do I continue without it? I'd worn these coats for so long, they were a part of me. If I take them off, who will I be? Do I want to take them off? I know where I stand with pain and trauma. I have lived with it for so long. People just want to hurt you, so I make sure my wall of protection is secure. Any cracks are repaired. Oh, just sit and wait until the next thing happens. If I sit still, I can set a little perimeter to stop anyone or anything getting nearby. Well, nothing or no one has attacked me so far today. I can feel my anxiety start to kick in. It's 3 p.m, not long until I can have a drink. I start to despise drinking because it was really taking hold of me now. It was used to control me some time ago, and I did not know how I could have an occasional drink or not have that jittery feeling, wanting to need the drink. Some nights I would have to really concentrate on stopping at half a bottle of vodka. No one could hate me more than I did, and wait until the morning. The hatred would be real. The hatred would be just as real, with a side order of hangover to add insult to injury. I would beat myself up black and blue with words. If I did look in the mirror, who was I? I did not know anymore. There was one difference. I kept listening to various people on YouTube, anything from Esther Hicks, Abraham, or anyone that can give me hope that this could end. I continued to read my book and do little exercises, also continued to journal, and my letter was long, but it helped. I can picture myself writing on my bed in my niece's and nephew's old playroom. I was blessed with somewhere to live. My sister and brother-in-law quickly changed their children's playroom and made it into a bedroom for me. I was blessed with an area that I could call my own. Before this, I was living here and there, but I thought moving away to paradise. Before this, I was living here and there, but I thought I was moving away to paradise. My worries forgotten. No. It was the blow that nearly finished me. That is when my family scooped me up and clothed me, fed me, and gave me a place I could call home. I had friends who were my lifeline by listening, checking in on me, and giving me a job so I could buy something. I had to make myself bankrupt. My home, everything was taken, and the rest, well, that is a part of the story I will keep out of respect. If I had written this back then, I would have laid it out all to bear. But now I've come through such a deep healing process. Doing such does not serve anyone. So, I had a job, cash in hand, which was perfect as I had no bank account. I had enough clothes to wear, although I did not really care what I looked like. I was putting the money aside towards sessions with my life coach, and she only charged 25% of what she charged her clients. For that, I'll always be grateful. Angeli, you're a true angel. You held me. You had time to find ways to put my feet back on the ground. I'd built a little routine of writing in my journal, reading my book, and listening to people on YouTube. Some days were easier than others. There would be days where I would have flashbacks, horrendous hangovers where the hatred poured through my veins. Found days I could barely feel my feet on the floor. What I came to learn is I was not feeling grounded in the moment. I lived in turmoil in my head. I remember one day walking to the train station on the way to work. I thought I was going to collapse. I could barely feel my feet and my body was so heavy. I just had to concentrate on what was going on around me in that moment, and that did help. There always seemed to be a mist that swirled around my head. I felt like I was in particles in the mist, never feeling quite whole. There was something within me that just wanted to keep going. I certainly had lighter days. The lightness certainly came from writing in my journal. I never cried much. I had bouts of tears, but I was still numb and in shock. But there was something that kept me going. At the time, I had no idea what it was, but in time, I grew to learn and understand. So that was a part of my book, the beginning of my book. Obviously, it goes into greater depths than that. But I just wanted to start sharing about my book and I suppose getting it out there. And it's actually quite good for me to hear it back as well. Obviously, it's still a process for me to go through publishing and things like that. But yeah, that's the first little snippet of my book. And no doubt I'll be doing more. As always, sending you so much love. Bye.